Our topic this morning is affirmations and denials. Now, right off, let me talk about that word, denial. Because we don't use that word in the sense of avoiding or ignoring or pretending something isn't happening. That's not how we use the word in this context. When we use the word deny, we mean reject, rebuff, decline, refute. But let me build up to that. Because last week, if you were here, you might remember we ended with a cliffhanger. And the cliffhanger was this: what do you do when you're meditating on wholeness and goodness, the beauty of life, and then your mind starts to argue about it? Yeah. Slips into negativity, old patterns of negativity. What do you do? And I had to end with the cliffhanger because it's impossible to cover these complicated topics in 20 minutes once a week. Imagine, if you will, you've been given the task to build a magnificent castle, and you get to do it once a week in 20 minutes. And so you begin by laying the foundation. The problem is that when the crew the next week show up, not all of them were present. And so you have to go back to the foundation and explain everything to make sure that the building goes in the right direction. Look, if you've got to build a house or a castle and you only get to do it once a week for 20 minutes, and you've got to start from the beginning every single time, it's just that the progress is going to be slow, really slow. And the thing is that last week's message was jam-packed with foundational information. We put scaffolding up. We talked about what spiritual mind treatment is and what spiritual mind treatment is not. And so if you weren't here, good news is you can catch up. You can listen to our audio recording or watch the video, and it's worth it because this whole month and next month, we're going to be building each week on the previous week. We're going somewhere. See, the topic for this month and next month is spiritual mind treatment. Now, for visitors, spiritual mind treatment, that's our form of meditation that is most similar to prayer. So we define spiritual mind treatment as dealing with something using our spiritual thought for the purpose of revealing its original and inherent wholeness. Now, if you're already saying to yourself, what's he talking about? Well, that's last week's scaffolding. See, that's the foundation that we're building on, putting the scaffolding up. You got to go and look at the message. So you see, I'm going to assume that you either know what the foundation is and what where's the scaffolding going, or at least you will catch up on your own through review. So back to the cliffhanger. The cliffhanger is this: what do you do when your mind begins to argue for its limitations? You know what I mean. There you are. You're thinking about love, peace, connection, compassion, and joy. And part of your mind is saying, oh, yes, I want some of that. And then another part of your mind perks up and says, oh, yeah, sure. Have you read the news lately? You need to be realistic, it says to you. This is a messed up world. We've got some real issues, and we need to deal with them. This is no time for happy, peppy, positive thinking. You have the same voice? About a year ago, I posted on Facebook a message about the appropriateness of nonviolence as a way of responding to a particular world issue that was up at the time. And a man sent me a private message on Facebook, and he said to me, "Look, Edward, I'm all for love, peace, and joy. But this is no time for affirmative thinking. We need to fight back. We need to combat the wrong. And as I was reading his words, I didn't feel any reactivity. I just felt my disagreement. And I said calmly in my own mind, silently, no. This is not a time for fighting. This is the time for the light bearers of the world to hold bright and high the light of unity and cooperation and peace. And that's exactly what you do with your own mind when it acts up. You talk to it serenely, firmly. You dispute its claim to justified aggression. You dispute its claim to a holy war. You doubt its projections of an unkind future, of its claim to violence and retaliation, as if you were arguing a case at a trial. You see, the legal system is on my mind right now, because last week I was called for jury duty. Oh, fascinating. One of the few civic responsibilities we have, we must show up for it. And I was fascinated with the process of jury selection and how clearly the judge presented the process of that selection. She explained that, in fact, a person can be excused from jury duty for a hardship. And then she described what a hardship is and what a hardship is not. Just like last week when we talked about what a spiritual mind treatment is and what it is not. And the judge was very clear. She said, hardship is not being inconvenienced. You can't be excused from jury duty if it's inconvenient to your schedule or your boss's schedule or your work. Now, she explained that in her opinion, an example of a hardship would be, for example, if you were a full-time student during the day with a full load of classes, and if you missed 3 weeks of that, it would be very difficult for you to catch up with the rest of your students, and we are preparing for our future by sending people to school. So you could be excused for that. And when she was done, we knew exactly what she meant, because she explained everything. It's not this, it's that. And as she was explaining, she was very calm, in her voice, very even, but very definite. Even when a prospective juror got all upset with the process, the judge just remained very clear. No, it's not that. It's that. That's exactly how you get to talk to yourself, to your own mind, when you're addressing a disruptive thought. You've got to be calm. You've got to be clear. You've got to be direct. You've got to be firm. You've got to deny the error and affirm the correct information. No, 2 plus 2 does not equal 72. 2 plus 2 equals 4. I deny that 2 plus 2 can ever equal 72. I affirm that 2 plus 2 always equals 4. Emma Curtis Hopkins, she's one of the matriarchs of this way of thinking of metaphysics. She talked about denials, and she said, when we make our denials, we ought to be calm, clear, firm. Don't make a fuss. Don't get all excited about it. Just be clear. Don't get worked up. I mean, that would tell you something about yourself if you did. No, you're just being very clear. I reject the idea that my life can be meaningless or futile. I affirm that I live and breathe and have my being in God. I deny that fearful thinking has the power to hypnotize me into behaving a certain way. No. I affirm that I'm guided and inspired by spiritual truth. No, success is not about having more money. It's about having more love and freedom. No, opportunity does not only knock once. I live in a universe of endless new possibilities. That's what affirmations and denials are. They are statements that clarify spiritual truth. They don't create the truth, they clarify it. And mostly what you need to practice this sort of thing is practice daily, like when you're learning a new language. I recently found an app for my smartphone to teach yourself a new language. It's rather wonderful because it reminds me every day, beep, it's time for your 10-minute lesson, you know. And so, I look at the reminder, and then my mind starts, I'm busy, I'm too busy for this. Besides, my mind is distracted. All the excuses, I should be using my time for something else. Oh, wow. No, I have to talk to my mind. No. Your schedule may be full, and your mind is perfectly calm. No, your thinking may be distracted, and your vision to learn a new language is sound and good and strong and true and worthy. It's like you're arguing, like an attorney arguing a case. No, Your Honor, 2 plus 2 does not equal 27. It's 4, plain and simple. Because the argument that resonates most with the truth is going to convince the jury and not the lie. So I do my little lesson on my phone 10 minutes a day. And it's really great, this app, because if you make a mistake, it's a bit harsh. It goes, bzzzt, no, wrong, in big red letters. But after a while, you realize, gosh, I guess I do know the correct way to say the boy, the girl, the man, the woman in this new language. I really do. Then 10 minutes a day for a whole week, and you suddenly realize, I've got some real skills developing here. It's progressing. And then when the little screen says to you, in the new language, how do you say the girl? And then it gives you words to choose from, and some of them are wrong. And you're about to choose the wrong word, and your mind says calmly, no, it's not El Niña, it's La Niña. And you deny the error, and you affirm the truth. And don't you know that this little app, it will not let you go on. It will not let you progress until the foundation is correct. You cannot go on to more complex expressions until the foundation is correct. Spiritual mind treatment will not be successful until the foundation is correct. Here's how Dr. Holmes, our founder, writes about it. Imagine, he says, looking at a picture of a beautiful landscape. In this picture, there are trees, a house, a stream, beautiful meadow, and in the background, mountains and a blue sky dotted with clouds. You look at it long, contemplating its beauty. Now suppose that a colored glass is placed between you and the picture so that now the picture becomes all blurred. Everything seems distorted, and yet nothing has happened to the picture. Your business then is to remove the colored glass because the picture is still there on the wall unchanged. Spiritual mind treatment is a method you use for clearing up the mental images, and affirmations and denials don't create the perfection, and they can't change it. They rearrange your thinking to perceive it. Oh, I like that. I love that image. I get that I'm trying to clear the way for my mind to see the picture as it truly is. And also, it reminds me that I am not the one who creates original perfection and wholeness. It pre-exists me. Wholeness is the beginning of everything. Wholeness is the foundation upon which the castle must be built. It's got to be built on a rock of solid wholeness. You see, that's why we spent so much time this year, earlier from the beginning of the year, talking about such things as what is your idea about divinity, about God? What is your real self? What is your understanding of this life and how it works? What is creation about? Because that foundation must be solid. You cannot build a magnificent castle on a broken foundation. You cannot build a life of wholeness on a belief in pain and punishment. It's not going to be useful to me for me to affirm love and peace and joy when my foundation is a belief in just the opposite. And if I've been taught that life is broken and corrupt or dangerous or sneaky or whatever it is, then I've got to go back. I've got to go back to the beginning. I've got to take down the scaffolding. I've got to dig up that foundation, and I've got to say, no, God is not angry. No, God is not jealous. No, God is not vengeful. No, God is not testing me. No, God is not a man in the clouds. No, God does not favor some people and not others. No, God does not punish. No, just no. And then, when I have denied that, repudiated it, don't you love that word? When I have repudiated the error thought, what am I going to pour into the empty space that remains? Because that's what's going to make my foundation. The foundation upon which my spiritual mind treatment is built, upon which I'm going to build the magnificent castle of my life. You see, by now you're understanding that we do not use the word deny in the sense of ignore, pretend it's not happening, sidestep, avoid. No. We mean deny in the sense of refute, reject, rebut. Take it on. Say no, not that. That. Spiritual mind treatment is not about denying that problems exist, not at all. It is, however, about disengaging from the problem just long enough to be able to contemplate wholeness. Spiritual mind treatment is about being real, about being honest, about being present. Our founder writes about spiritual mind treatment as something that could be used for a whole host of conditions. For example, like when we're feeling ill or anything less than what you consider well. He writes, if bodily illness confronts you, do this at least twice a day. Get as comfortable as you can, releasing all tension. And resolve for at least a few minutes that you will forget the bodily discomfort, the pain, the fever, or whatever symptoms you're dealing with at the moment. What I like about this is, you see, it's not denying the experience of illness. It is not denying that sometimes we have physical problems and discomfort. It's not saying your experience isn't real or doesn't matter. It is inviting you to make an agreement with yourself to try as best you can to put it all aside just for a moment, long enough to do a spiritual mind treatment. No, so you want to try and let go of all of the mind chatter for just a while, twice a day. You make space for wholeness in your thought. Put the objections on hold. And sometimes I have to talk to my own objections and say, I'll come back to you in a moment. I'm just going to be busy for the next 15 minutes. And he says, try to let go, to relax all over so that tenseness disappears from your body. Now, I don't know about you, that takes me a moment. Sometimes I have to, for me to settle down, I have to literally go through every limb and breathe into it and invite it to relax, especially if I'm not feeling well, or especially if I'm reactive, or especially if I'm grumpy. For me to relax, I might even have to listen to some good music. I might have to even sit in a comfortable chair. It's not, the first step to prepare, it's got to be mindfully approached. And then he says, and then close your eyes. And then silently, very slowly, with ample time for a deep understanding of every word, say to yourself something like this. And then he gives examples, like this one. There is one life. That life is God. That life is perfect, and that life is my life now. My body is a manifestation of this life. It is created by and sustained by the one power. That power is flowing in and through me right now. It animates everything about me. I am one with the infinite rhythm of this life. I'm in the flow of its love. I am harmonized to its peace. And so I say to myself, there is no fear, there is no doubt, and there is no uncertainty in my mind, because my mind is a center of divine activity within the mind of God. There is one mind. That mind is God. That mind is perfect. That mind is my mind now. See, it's an example. And you see that you're not asking for anything. You're just trying to realize something about yourself, about who you are, about who you really are. In other words, you're trying to get a clear image of your spiritual nature. You're trying to remember the highest truth of your being. And then, when you've done that, you've got to be very careful that you don't sabotage your own work. And that's what we're talking about next week. Yeah. Next week we'll talk about how not to overthink it, how not to, what's that called, paralysis through analysis, how not to second guess. Oh, that's going to be good. You don't want to miss that. So will you breathe in with me now? And exhale, let your eyes close if you want. And we'll use the words of the example to guide us in our prayer practice today. There is only one life, and that life is God. That life is perfect, and that life is my life right now. My body is a manifestation of this life. My body, my affairs, my relationships are a manifestation of this life. I am sustained by its power. I'm infused with its presence. It flows through me right now and animates everything about me. And so I say to myself, there can be no congestion in my life, no confusion in my life, no inaction in my life. No. The eternal flow of the living Spirit circulates endlessly in and through and around, above and below me. I am attuned to it. I am harmonized to its peace. And so I say, there is only one life. That life is God. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. I invite you to breathe in And exhale. And then we say at the end of a spiritual mind treatment, and so it is, which literally is the same as saying Amen. It means the same thing. It means let it be so. It means and so it shall be. It means finished, blessed, over. It means I agree. Okay?